I want you to try to put into words the challenge of from the day you decided that, or with your colleagues or whomever decided that you were going to move into this inquiry-based school-wide process to now. Can you put into words what this challenge has been like?
Well, I think first, like when we did start, it was a kind of an exploration through reading around what could school look like that could be different than just the normal rote learning environment that you and I would have experienced as a child. And so did a lot of reading and around engagement and 21st century learners, and that's where I kept coming back to inquiry-based learning. So it was something that was done through some extensive reading and dialogue with staff and parents, and just collecting feedback and then sort of saying, is this a journey we'd like to try? For staff, it was presented as this is something that we're going to do as a community. We have the support of our parents. No experience necessary, just a willingness to try. And at that point, it was fair to say that not many of us had any experience with it, but it was just a willingness to learn together and journey together. So I think upon starting, as with all things, there's always the challenge of the unknown, the fear of the unknown and a fear of change. But I think all the staff was courageous enough to try it, and I think through some of learning, through reflection and learning from our own successes and failures, and we've heard that loud and clear from our teachers that sometimes we learn just as much from other classroom teachers' failures than their successes, and our own reflection too on what went well, what would I do differently. And I think it was through that process of continually trying, reflecting, and changing what we were doing, I think has led to, first of all, the momentum where we start to see the benefit of kids and their learning, I guess the engagement of students. We heard throughout the process from teachers that even some of our more challenging students, when involved in inquiry, were more on task. And I think when teachers started to see that benefit, then it was no longer a journey into the unknown, or a fear of change. It was something that was embraced and welcomed, and I think they saw the rewarding element of it as well. And I think as part of our journey, we went to Calgary to visit 2 inquiry-based learning schools that had been doing it for a number of years, and I think that was a real big aha moment for us as a staff. We were able to see what we were reading about in terms of the theory and what we'd been trying in practice, seeing what would it look like when we were there, or a 2 schools' interpretations of what it looks like when they're there, so to speak. And I think at that was a pivotal point where I think it was a big aha moment for our teachers and all of us in terms of what we needed to do to continue to move forward.
Question, principal's job, not an easy one, dealing with 100 things a day, that would have been enough. What is it that drove you personally to begin leading this change movement in your school? Because it's almost like you took a tough job and you made it tougher. So what were the cornerstones of you moving forward with this?
I think what it comes down to is student disengagement. I was a vice principal in a previous school. It was an inner city community school, and as a vice principal and grade 8 teacher, I was starting to recognize firsthand that we needed to do things differently to engage our students. Moving to this school, which was a very different community, I was maybe expecting that the engagement might be a little different, and it wasn't. And I think it was just an affirmation that our students who are disengaged, it's their way of telling us loud and clear that what we're doing bears little resemblance to the world that they know, and even less resemblance to the world that doesn't even exist yet for when they're going to be, contributors to it as adults. So it was primarily driven by the engagement of our students. We shouldn't be dragging our kids kicking and screaming through the learning process. I think it's our job, it's our professional calling to create those ideal conditions for kids to just be unleashed in their learning. And I think it's been a big affirmation where we're seeing our students taking up that challenge themselves and taking learning to places that we couldn't have possibly done it through that rote learning style of us transmitting and then being the receivers.
As a principal, we have a lot of principals that watch our videos. We have a lot of principals that come on our site. If I were to say which, you may have other principals that would be interested in maybe trying to spearhead something like this. Maybe don't know where to start, don't know where to end, but just for the sake of trying to help provide a few shortcuts for other principals through your journey. Do you have a couple of nuggets of advice for other principals who might see what you have seen in their schools? They want to do something about it. They're well-meaning. They don't know where to start, and they don't know what they're getting themselves into.
Well, I think with us, in looking back and reflecting, we started with the theory. We started with a resource collaboration and comprehension, which really did a good job of outlining the why does school need to look different, why inquiry-based learning. I think it was also providing a clear rationale. Why are we looking at doing this? And I think things like disengagement I think are reason enough, but we also know that this is a strategy embedded in new curriculum. It's something that is embedded in our school division student learning model. So trying to make all of these different things and initiatives that sometimes could be seen as a scatter plot of one more thing put on our plate, seeing how this can all align everything into one common vision. I think it's also important not just to embark on the theory, like through the professional reading, but also to bring in the practice. We did a little bit of reading prior to, and then we just jumped in and collaboratively tried. We had a couple staff who had some background and knowledge about it, and really sought them out to take a leadership role in doing some leading and co-teaching and co-planning to facilitate teachers getting comfortable with the process. So I think it's about that building capacity, tapping into the gifts of teachers that already have some of the knowledge, and really utilizing that. And I guess part of it too was this was something that we talked about as a school community with our staff and our parents, and so it sort of emerged into like a non-negotiable about who we are and what we're seeking to become. So I think as a principal, the one part is like this is who we are, and I think we've had support from our division in terms of staffing it with teachers who are invested in inquiry-based learning. I think is important as well. So not just simply somebody coming here without any interest in it. I think that's having division support as well. I think is beneficial too. I think as professionals, if we're not, the minute we stop growing or reflecting, we've plateaued, and I think then we're done growing as professionals as well. So I don't think we're ever going to be there yet. I think it's going to be a constant evolution and revisiting and reflecting what are we doing now. We do recognize and we try to celebrate often that we are doing a lot of great things, and we're very proud of it. Our students tell us, our parents tell us, I think we encourage each other, but I think it's also part of our role to continually reflect what can we do a better job of, where else can we grow. And I think it's become a natural progression into our second year. So for example, right now we're looking at, so what was the process of three-way conferences going to look like? Maybe it needs to look different, or even student portfolios that we often send home for three-way conferences. So we're starting to embark on some work on how can that better reflect the inquiry-based learning environment, because we recognize that a lot of the learning doesn't fit in an 8.5 by 11 binder. So I don't think we're ever going to be there yet. And I think that's part of the excitement about it, is there is no, we're done. Now we just get to take it easy, where I think it's part of our work as teachers to continually improve, reflect, and grow professionally.